So things are starting to actually pumping on a daily. This is something that, well, of course, is great to see, but the question is, can we trust this pump? Daily is showing as high as 52% for IP, whatever that is. I had no clue. Sometimes these new coins are actually pumping even on a daily, and we haven't seen it before. But obviously, guys, let me not digress. My name is Luke, and let's get the party started, because we are going to have a look at Kaspa, overall market sentiment, and of course we are going to check whether this is something that we can trust actually, okay? Because if I'm going to put on a weekly in here, you see what's going on. This IP again 169%, so congratulations if you've been well, buying this coin. And on a monthly, you see what's going on, okay? Only OM Mantra is actually quite high in terms of gains on a monthly, but you see, guys, that everything has been erased in comparison to what we have seen in December, January time, right? So now let's go into Kaspa's dashboard and let's go through it, okay? So Kaspa, if it comes to market cap, is sitting at 2.7 billion, volume, well, 38.8 million of volume. And if it comes to Kaspa being mined, we are sitting at 89.7%. Well, that's short-term, well, sorry, long-term bullish. And now, ladies and gents, let's quickly have a look at ETF inflows, or actually outflows as we speak, because on 20th February, yesterday, we had 364.8 million of outflows for BTC. However, Ethereum haven't seen really that much of a pain, because we've got only 13.1 mil if it comes to these outflows, and nobody has sold through BlackRock, okay? And obviously Ethereum is very important, guys, because that is going to spark our altcoin season. And now something about Kaspa. So David from X basically did the deep search. He said, hey Elon Musk, he used Grook's 3 new deep search, and it believes that Kaspa will be listed on Binance on the 4th March 2025. Let's see how good your new AI is, right? That's something obviously for Elon. Let's see, guys, right? Let's see. Of course, I'm not telling that AI model is going to predict such thing, right? Because how deep the search would actually have to be. But heck, let's see, guys, okay? Again, I don't want this to be fuel for you to be jumping into Kaspa or anything else. Make sure that you remember that this is not financial advice. But guys, that will be interesting. We've got what, less than 2 weeks, around 2 weeks for this to happen. Something that you have seen in the thumbnail, right? So Chinese M1 money supply is pumping like crazy. 60 trillion, I'm not sure if it's a dollar valuation, but I would imagine so. Nonetheless, we've got 112 trillion, okay? Or if it's their own currency. Nonetheless, guys, this money is going to end up on the markets, especially when they are going to legalize it. And of course, there are people that are trading stocks and crypto, even if they are Chinese. Obviously, people have double citizenships. Of course, I don't know that, but pure logic, guys. Well, I believe that something is about to happen. And also, Marty Party is posting this. This is very interesting, so listen up, right? He says that he told that QT will end last month, and it's the same every cycle. The Fed is paid to lie and deflect you from buying risk on assets, but it's quietly starting quantitative easing in stealth mode. And he listed the reasons they need to inject liquidity many times. They don't have a choice. Don't be the idiot who waits for Jerome Powell to announce that's too late. Front run it now. Fed minutes say it clearly. Debt ceiling will be raised. Balance sheet reduction will be halted. That means QT ends. Then there will be a month of quite nothing, following by Jerome telling us 3% is the new 2% inflation, economic stimulation rate cuts, and QE for 2 years. So estimating tool of $70 trillion before 2030, at least $5 trillion will go into US dollar debt backed stable coins, $5 trillion into Bitcoin, $5 trillion into coins, altcoins, and 20 trillion into equity markets, 10 trillion into US infrastructure and manufacturing, bailout and repair. The balance into debt reduction and backstopping the bleeding. Bookmark this post. Well, guys, let me actually bookmark it. It's very interesting. Of course, I'm not saying that Marty Party is right, but definitely check his account, because he been right quite a few times in the past, okay, if it comes to his alpha that he's basically providing. So if that is going to come into fruition, our beloved Kaspa and other altcoins, if you are actually holding other altcoins, are going to pump. Now, guys, don't worry, we are going to look at Kaspa's short time frame picture, but of course we have to look at overall market sentiment. So let's go, because BlackRock and Fidelity have already swallowed up 1.4% of the total Ethereum supply in just 7 months. And of course, we have to remember to follow Ethereum and what is happening with Ethereum, because in my personal opinion, that is going to spark the altcoin season, basically. I mean, Ethereum's pumps. And speaking about Kaspa and altcoins outside of Ethereum, basically, now Bitcoin Data 21 is posting this, right? This is accumulation schematic 2 Wyckoff events and phases. And we've got obviously these phases in which Bitcoin had found itself. Nobody had been listening to me back then when Bitcoin was ranging for such a long time, and yet it exited actually. Okay, so if this is true, right, that would be probably a little bit of a more pain. It would probably see significant upside towards the end of this month, and we've got what, around 8 days left, or 9 days, whatever. So guys, it could be bullish thing. Okay, now if you want to hold your Kaspa outside of exchanges, if you actually want to secure it or anything else, make sure that you check out Tangem wallet, because who knows what is going to happen with these exchanges, right? They are mafia. Okay, so self-storage is definitely a better option. Make sure that you check it out, and with my discount code you can get minus 10% off plus 5% extra, and you can find the link below this video. And of course, BitUnix and Bybit, you know, if you would like to you know, trade this volatility. Now guys, Parabolic Pump is posting this, and again, just in case if I have lost you, don't worry, we are going to look into Kaspa's chart and everything else. Now, altcoin season loading, right? Historically speaking, we are about to witness a massive altcoin season, and yet we've recently hit a sentiment low. So basically, people are scared. The majority of investors are now convinced that there won't be an altcoin season anymore. Perfect. This bearish sentiment is the perfect catalyst for altcoin season to truly begin. I know that many people probably are thinking that, you know, you're going to get some magical signal and stuff like this, right? But at the end of the day, these whales and mafia, basically exchanges, they don't want to kind of make it obvious that you're going to make money, right? How they will make money if they will make it obvious to you. I hope that makes sense. But anyways, don't listen to doomsters. And again guys, I'm not saying that you have to listen to me. These are just my opinions based on the data I see and based on the charts, of course. Okay, so make sure that you do your due diligence and research. Anyways, in all the past months, we've never had this much data that is clearly showing us how bullish the next months will be, and the stage is set. So we have the perfect bullish setup for altcoins, right? We've got major capitulation of altcoins, peak fear, BTC's dominance top is likely in, Ethereum BTC's bottom is likely in. The final year of the 4-year crypto cycle is the most bullish for altcoins, 2025 obviously. Ethereum will soon break out of its 1-year consolidation phase, which will make altcoins go parabolic. We've got Ethereum, total 2, total 3, and others haven't even broken their all-time highs yet from 2021, right? Yes, well, we saw Alders and basically other altcoins pretty much reaching its previous all-time highs, but this is where people bought the top, and then we saw this big rejection, right? So we are going to get into these charts and I'll let you know what I'm talking about. But now the XY top is in and will trend lower over the next months, right? This is something that I've been mentioning about during yesterday's videos, and quantitative tightening will likely end soon. Potential quantitative easing also on the horizon. Great question, right? Everything is lining up perfectly. With every day that passes, he's just getting more and more excited. Okay guys, obviously that is not a fuel for you to go crazy and degen, right? But that's what I will do if I will have some USDT available, right? I'm obviously you know, deep in if it comes to allocation, but you know, looking at World Liberty Financial, that's basically company behind Trump, or actually Trump is behind this company. They are loading up altcoins, right? They are loading up Say, quite actually interesting because they loaded up at key support line, and let's see how this is going to play out. They are obviously loading up Ethereum, Move, for whatever reason. Now let's have a look at liquidity, guys, and then of course Kaspa and other charts. So that's BTC. Okay, well, let's actually skip this short time frame, and one thing that I would like to show you is that's 30 days. Okay, so 30 days, let me just zoom it in a little bit. 30 days, everybody is shorting the market, right? So you see how much of money we've got. So basically $11.2 billion is going to be made if the price of BTC is going to spike towards the upside. And where is that upside? Well, let's move it to the monthly time frame. Okay, of course guys, don't worry, Kaspa chart will happen soon, right? So monthly time frame, right? We've got these lines in here. Maybe they're not as bright, but we've got 107, and hopefully by this time we are going to have more money coming into the markets, such as quantitative easing, and more liquidity in general coming into the market, because it's a month time frame, right? Now let's have a look at our beloved Kaspa, shall we? So let's have a look at scenario for all of the exchanges on a daily, shall we? This is going to be our quick time frame, let's say, price prediction for our beloved Kaspa. So more people at the moment are longing Kaspa, but Kaspa, the thing is that on a short time frame, Kaspa actually pumped, and we are going to look at it soon, right? So more people are longing Kaspa rather than shorting. Okay, and now also looking at the heat map, let me just quickly type Kaspa Binance, not monthly, we are going to do 24 hours. So on 24 hourly, guys, you see that we have liquidity in between, let's say, right? So the lowest point, okay, is going to be 10 cents 1, and then even lower, quick would be 0.09. And yes, of course, we do have liquidity above us at 11 cents 1. However, now looking at this chart of our beloved Kaspa, well, looking at the stochastic RSI being in here, right, we have created the first wave, right, and then the second one, right? Nonetheless, it is an overheated level even on 4 hourly. Okay, now one area of, let's say, non-confluence would technically be inverse head and shoulders, which is obviously a bullish pattern. Okay, so that technically can broke above us to make things weird. However, on a daily time frame, guys, notice how we are also creating another, well, second wave when it comes to that stochastic RSI. Okay, now the price obviously is going towards here, but we don't really have a lot of greed looking at this indicator, at least. Okay, well, we had greed in here, and then obviously the proper sell-off on a daily. Okay, so I will tell you what I'm expecting. Okay, Kaspa will pull back, in my opinion, to collect this liquidity in here to retest this level as a support. That's 10 cents 2. And also looking at the liquidity, I hope that you guys actually see it. Also looking at the liquidity, where is this here? Looking at the liquidity, guys, we've got basically what, 10 cents 1, 10 cents 2, basically that overall area. Let me actually adjust the screen a little bit. Forgive me, guys, I do hope that you can actually see this screen. Anyways, 4 hourly, guys, you see how overheated this level is. So of course, I'm not saying that it's 100% certain that Kaspa is going to retest this level as a support, because we could kind of argue that it already did and it kind of bounced, right? However, you saw on a heat map that liquidity is there. Sooner or later, in my personal humble opinion, that thing is going to pull back towards this level of a support in here, and that's going to be what? Well, 4% of a move, right? But of course, if you are going to use a leverage, right, which of course is not a financial advice, don't get me wrong, that could be a little bit of a more juicier profit. Now guys, let's actually have a look at the weekly scenario for Kaspa. Okay, so what I like to see in here is the fact that we have a lot of fear. Okay, looking at this indicator, people are still fearful on a weekly time frame for our beloved Kaspa, and now we do have a bullish cross if it comes to weekly. But now, speaking about bullish cross, this is something that we can actually see in others, for instance, right? Obviously, these are correlated to charts, right? Because Kaspa is inside of that big macro chart, right? So we see that the bullish cross is almost occurring in here on that weekly time frame, and of course, you have to remember that it's going to play, you know, some time. And by the way, if you remember what I was talking about while reading these X posts, you can clearly see that altcoins basically just hit the previous all-time highs and we just got rejected, and now we are basically creating this bull flag. And of course, guys, don't get me wrong, right? It doesn't look juicy, right? But it's kind of designed for it not to look juicy, right? We've got kind of cap and handle formation slash retest of this area as a resistance, and then, you know, hopefully we are going to pump quite soon. And why do I think we are going to pump? Well, let's actually have a look at USDT dominance, right? Because weekly, again, right, that thing is on the top, which is inversely correlated with two previous charts that I have just showed to you. Okay, and now daily, obviously, which is a smaller time frame, is showing us whatever it is. Okay, we can also consider this, you know, action as a double top in here. Okay, nonetheless, it's what, third day of downward momentum for USDT dominance going towards the downside. However, the money is being currently sucked into BTC. So what we have to wait for is BTC dominance, right? Let's actually have a look at the daily, right? Daily is showing us that we could potentially have a little bit of a more breather for altcoins finally. Let's see tomorrow when you guys are going to wake up, or when I'm going to wake up, because it's quite late in here in Thailand. Nonetheless, guys, on a daily, you see what's going on, right? We can consider this as a rejection, and this let's say model of a bear flag is playing out at the moment. Now zooming out to the weekly, guys, again, that inverse correlation that I was talking about, this is almost stopping in here. Okay, so I'm not here to tell you that you're going to see huge gains in your portfolio tomorrow, right? Because obviously we have covered short time price prediction for Kaspa. However, I'm here to tell you that in my personal humble opinion, not a financial advice of course, we are going to see something legendary. Okay, and I know that I say it for many times, but this is obviously what data is telling me, right? Of course, nobody was expecting this, right? And yes, we do have clear levels of a support, right? But of course, you know, after such a long time of waiting, you know, that's what most of the YouTubers and influencers were pretty much thinking that might gonna happen. But of course, we have to remember about the fact that many of us retail people are basically getting smarter with every single cycle, especially now with X and with YouTube, right? Not every YouTuber is, you know, a scammer pretty much. And people are getting more educated, just like market makers know the fact that we are more educated. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so these guys are obviously playing games with us. Okay, that's what I think, right? Because again, it's designed for us retail traders and investors to lose money, not to make money. We have to learn how they are trying to take money from us. Guys, I hope this helps. As always, peace and love, crypto.